The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Episode 1. The Storm. Dorothy Gale lived in a small house in Kansas, with Uncle Henry, who was a farmer, and Aunt Em, who was the farmer's wife. The house was very small. There was a small cellar under the house because sometimes there were bad storms and the family needed to hide in the cellar. Kansas was not a beautiful place. Everything was grey. The ground was grey, the houses were grey, and even the people looked grey. Uncle Henry and Aunt Em were very serious people. They loved Dorothy very much, but they never laughed. Dorothy laughed a lot. She was a happy little girl, and she had a happy little dog called Toto. She played with him every day. One day, Dorothy and Toto were outside when they saw huge clouds in the sky. It became very windy, and Dorothy knew that a storm was on the way.
"Come inside, Dorothy!"
called Aunt Em.
"Go into the cellar!"
Dorothy ran inside, but Toto was very frightened, and he went under Dorothy's bed. Dorothy tried to get him out. Aunt Em and Uncle Henry went down into the cellar. They called Dorothy, but she didn't want to leave Toto. Just then, the house shook and a very strange thing happened. The wind lifted the house up into the air. The house turned round 2 or 3 times and then began to fly through the air. Toto was scared and he ran around the room. But Dorothy sat on the floor and waited to see what was going to happen next. They flew for a long time, and then the house suddenly landed on the ground with a loud noise. Dorothy went to the door and opened it. Outside the house, everything was beautiful. The sun was shining, colourful birds were singing in the trees, and there were pretty flowers everywhere.
"It's so beautiful!"
exclaimed Dorothy.
"But where are we?"
Episode 2. The Good Witch of the North. Dorothy looked around. Suddenly, she saw some strange people.
"They are old like Uncle Henry,"
she thought.
"but they are small like me."
There were 2 men and a woman. The men wore blue clothes and round hats with bells on them. The woman wore a beautiful white dress with silver stars on it.
"Welcome to the land of Oz,"
said the woman.
"You are a kind and wonderful witch. You killed the wicked witch of the East, and now my people are free. Thank you."
"But I'm not a witch,"
replied Dorothy.
"and I didn't kill anyone."
"Your house killed someone,"
said the woman.
"and that's the same thing."
She pointed at the corner of the house, and Dorothy saw 2 feet with silver shoes on them.
"Oh!"
cried Dorothy.
"There's someone under the house. What can we do?"
We can't do anything,
answered the woman.
She was the Wicked Witch of the East, and she was very bad. Now the Munchkins are free, and they are very happy.
Who are the Munchkins?
asked Dorothy.
We are!
Shouted the little men,
And I am the Witch of the North.
added the woman.
Don't be afraid, I'm a good witch. There were 4 witches in Oz. The witches from the north and south are good. The Witch of the East was bad, but now she is dead, and there is only one bad witch. She lives in the west.
Just then, the Munchkins shouted and pointed to the corner of the house. The Wicked Witch of the East was gone, and only the silver shoes were still there,
She was very old, and she dried up quickly in the sun.
explained the Good Witch.
These magic shoes are yours now.
She picked up the shoes and gave them to Dorothy,
Thank you.
said Dorothy.
Now I must go home. Please tell me how to get back to Kansas.
There is no way to leave us.
Said one of the Munchkins,
You must live with us.
said the other. Dorothy started to cry.
Wait,
Said the Good Witch.
you must go to the Emerald City. Maybe the Great Wizard of Oz can help you.
But where is the Emerald City?
Asked Dorothy.
How can I get there?
You must follow the yellow brick road.
Said the Good Witch. She kissed Dorothy's head, and her kiss left a silver mark.
Now no one can hurt you.
Then the Good Witch turned around 3 times and disappeared. Episode 3. The Scarecrow. Dorothy went back into the house. She ate some bread and butter, and she gave some to Toto. Then she put some food in her basket. She put on the silver shoes, picked up her basket, and said,
Come on, Toto. We're going to the Emerald City.
Dorothy and Toto left the house, and soon they found the yellow brick road. They started to walk to the Emerald City,
Oz is a very pretty place, Toto.
said Dorothy.
Look at all these beautiful fields and houses.
Just then, Dorothy saw a scarecrow. He was in the middle of a field on a pole to keep the birds away from the corn. Dorothy looked at the scarecrow. His head was a sack full of straw, and his clothes were like the clothes the Munchkins wore. They were old, and they were full of straw too. The scarecrow smiled at Dorothy.
Did you see that, Toto?
Asked Dorothy.
Am I dreaming?
Then the scarecrow lifted his hand and waved at Dorothy.
Hello.
He said. Dorothy was very surprised.
Can you talk?
She asked.
Of course.
Said the scarecrow.
Can you help me get down?
Dorothy lifted the scarecrow off the pole and put him on the ground.
Thank you.
Said the scarecrow.
I feel much better now.
My name is Dorothy.
Said Dorothy.
I'm going to the Emerald City. I want the Great Oz to help me get back to Kansas.
Where is the Emerald City?
Asked the scarecrow.
And who is the Great Oz?
Don't you know?
Asked Dorothy.
No,
Replied the scarecrow.
I don't know anything. I don't have a brain, you see.
Oh dear.
Said Dorothy.
Do you think the Great Oz can give me a brain?
Asked the scarecrow.
I don't know.
Said Dorothy.
But you can come with me We can ask the Great Oz to help you too.
Thank you.
said the Scarecrow. They started to walk along the yellow brick road together. Toto didn't like the Scarecrow at first, and he growled at him.
Don't be afraid of Toto,
Said Dorothy,
he never bites.
Oh, I'm not afraid of him.
said the Scarecrow.
The only thing that frightens me is fire. It's the only thing that can hurt me.
Episode 4, The Tin Man. Dorothy, Toto and the Scarecrow walked along the yellow brick road. Sometimes they stopped to rest, and Dorothy told the Scarecrow about Kansas.
But why do you want to go back there?
Wondered the Scarecrow.
Kansas is grey and Oz is beautiful.
I know,
Said Dorothy.
but the people I love are in Kansas. It's my home, and there's no place like home.
I can't understand that.
Said the Scarecrow.
It's because I don't have a brain.
Tell me about you.
Said Dorothy.
Well,
Said the Scarecrow.
a munchkin made me. He wanted me to scare the birds, but they weren't scared of me. They knew I wasn't a real man. I want a brain so I can be a real person.
I'm sure the Great Oz can help you.
Said Dorothy. They followed the yellow brick road into a forest. Suddenly, Dorothy heard a strange noise.
What was that?
She asked the Scarecrow.
I don't know.
He murmured.
Let's go and see.
They walked through the trees and saw a tin man with an axe. He held the axe above his head, not moving at all.
Look,
Shouted Dorothy.
he can't move. The poor thing.
Please help me.
Begged the tin man.
Use that oil can to oil me.
Dorothy saw an oil can on the ground. She picked it up and oiled the poor tin man. He slowly moved his arms and his head. Then he slowly moved his legs.
Oh, thank you.
He said.
You saved my life. Who are you?
I'm Dorothy. This is the Scarecrow, and this is Toto. We're going to the Emerald City to see the Great Oz.
Why do you want to see the Great Oz?
Asked the tin man.
I want him to help me get home to Kansas.
Said Dorothy.
And I want a brain.
Added the Scarecrow.
I don't have one, you see.
I don't have a heart.
Said the tin man.
Do you think the Great Oz can give me one?
I don't know.
Replied Dorothy.
Why don't you come with us and we can ask him?
That's a good idea.
Said the tin man.
But we must take my oil can. I don't want to get stuck again.
Dorothy put the oil can in her basket, and they all walked along the yellow brick road to find the Emerald City. Episode 5, The Lion. As they walked through the forest, the Tin Man told them his story.
A long time ago, I was a real man.
He began.
I had a heart, and I fell in love with a Munchkin girl. She was very beautiful, and she promised to marry me as soon as I had more money and a better house. I worked hard in the forest cutting wood, but the girl lived with an old woman. The old woman didn't want us to marry. She was lazy and she wanted the girl to stay and work in her house. The old woman asked the Wicked Witch of the East to help her. The Wicked Witch turned me into a tin man with no heart. I couldn't love the Munchkin girl anymore. I want a new heart, so that I can love her again and marry her.
I hope the Great Oz can help you,
said Dorothy.
Do you know how far it is to the Emerald City?
I don't know how far it is,
said the Tin Man.
but I know it is a dangerous journey.
Dorothy was afraid. Just then, they heard a loud roar. A lion ran out of the forest and stood in the road in front of them. He hit the Scarecrow with one huge paw. The Scarecrow fell over. Then the lion hit the Tin Man, and the Tin Man spun round and round. Toto ran towards the lion, and the lion opened his mouth.
Don't bite, Toto!
Shouted Dorothy.
You're a bad lion!
She hit the lion on the nose. The lion looked at Dorothy.
I didn't bite him.
He said.
No, but you wanted to,
Said Dorothy.
You're just a coward.
I know.
Said the lion sadly.
I am a coward. I'm afraid of everything.
But you're a lion.
Said the Scarecrow as he stood up.
You can't be afraid.
You're right.
Said the lion, and he started to cry.
I'm so unhappy. I need some courage.
I need a brain.
Said the Scarecrow.
I need a heart.
Added the Tin Man.
And I need to go home.
Said Dorothy.
Come to the Emerald City with us. Maybe the Great Oz can help all of us.
Oh, thank you.
Said the lion.
You're all so kind. I'm sorry I frightened you.
It's all right.
Said Dorothy.
We're all friends now.
Episode 6. The Guard at the Gates. Dorothy and her new friends followed the yellow brick road out of the forest, through fields of flowers, over hills and across bridges. After some time, they saw houses by the road. The houses were green.
I think we're near the Emerald City.
Said Dorothy.
Yes,
Shouted the Tin Man.
look!
Dorothy looked and saw a green light shining in the distance.
That's it!
She said.
That's where the Great Oz lives.
They walked on, and the green light became brighter and brighter. After a few hours, they came to the wall around the city. It was green and had a large gate with emeralds all over it. There was a bell next to the gate, and Dorothy pushed the button. The gates opened, and they saw a small man. He looked like a munchkin, but his clothes were green, and there was a big green box next to him.
I am the guard of the gates.
Said the man.
What do you want in the Emerald City?
We want to see the Great Oz.
Replied Dorothy. The guard looked very surprised.
No one sees the Great Oz.
He said.
But I want him to give me a brain.
Explained the Scarecrow.
That is easy for the Great Oz.
Said the guard.
He has plenty of brains.
I want him to give me a heart.
Said the Tin Man.
He can do that.
Said the guard.
He has hearts of all shapes and sizes.
I want some courage.
Said the lion.
The Great Oz has a huge pot of courage.
Said the guard.
I want to go back to Kansas,
said Dorothy.
Can he help me too?
The Great Oz can do anything,
said the guard.
You can see him, but you must wear these glasses.
He opened the green box, and Dorothy saw that there were hundreds of pairs of green glasses inside.
The Emerald City is very bright,
warned the guard.
Everyone inside wears these special glasses all day and all night.
They all put on the glasses, and the guard locked them at the back of their heads so they could not take them off.
Now, come with me,
he said, and he took them into the Emerald City. Episode 7, The Emerald City. The Emerald City was beautiful. The houses and streets were green, and the people were green too. Even the sky above the city looked green. The guard took them to a huge palace.
The Great Oz lives here,
he said.
Come inside.
They went through the palace doors and into a huge room with a green carpet and green furniture.
Wait here,
said the guard.
I must ask if the Great Oz will see you.
They waited a long time before the guard came back.
Did you see Oz?
Asked Dorothy.
No,
said the guard.
I never see him, but I spoke to him. He agreed to see you, but only one at a time. You can go first. Come with me.
The guard took Dorothy to a large green door. A bell rang, and the guard said,
It's time for you to go in. Goodbye.
Dorothy opened the door and walked into the room. There were emeralds everywhere, and there was a large green throne in the middle of the room. There was a huge head on the throne, but it didn't have a body.
I am Oz, the great and powerful,
said the head.
Who are you, and what do you want?
I am Dorothy. I want you to help me get home, please.
Where did you get those silver shoes?
Asked the head.
I got them from the Wicked Witch of the East,
said Dorothy.
My house fell on her and killed her.
Well,
said the head.
I can help you, but you must pass a test first. I want you to kill the Wicked Witch of the West.
But I can't,
said Dorothy.
Then I can't help you,
said the head. Dorothy was very sad, and she left the room. Next, it was the Scarecrow's turn to see the Great Oz. He entered the room and saw a beautiful lady on the throne.
I am Oz, the great and powerful. Who are you and what do you want?
Asked the lady.
I am a scarecrow and I want a brain.
I can help you, but first you must help Dorothy kill the Wicked Witch of the West.
The Tin Man saw a terrible beast on the throne. It had 5 eyes, 5 arms, and 5 legs. The lion saw a huge ball of fire. The Great Oz looked different to all of them, but he told them all the same thing. They must find the Wicked Witch of the West and kill her. Episode 8, The Wicked Witch of the West. Dorothy and her friends were not happy.
I don't want to kill anyone,
said Dorothy.
But I do want to get back to Kansas.
Then we must go to the land of the Winkies and kill the Wicked Witch of the West,
said the Tin Man. They walked out of the city gates. They saw the guard there.
Excuse me,
said Dorothy.
How can we find the Wicked Witch of the West?
Go to the west, where the sun sets,
said the guard. So they started walking towards the west. After a few days, they reached the land of the Winkies. The Winkies were not bad people, but the Wicked Witch of the West made them work for her. The witch saw everything that happened in her country. When she saw Dorothy and her friends, she was very angry. She opened a cupboard and took out a gold cap with diamonds and rubies on it. The cap was magic, and the person who had it could ask the winged monkeys for help. The Wicked Witch put the cap on her head and called the winged monkeys. Hundreds of monkeys with huge wings flew down and landed in front of her.
What do you want us to do?
Asked the biggest monkey. He was the king of the winged monkeys.
Bring the girl and her friends to me,
said the witch. The winged monkeys flew to Dorothy and her friends. They picked them up and carried them to the witch's castle. The Wicked Witch was scared when she saw Dorothy's silver shoes. But she soon saw that Dorothy did not know how to use the magic shoes.
You can all work for me,
the witch told them. They worked hard every day. The witch wanted Dorothy to take off the silver shoes so that she could steal them. But Dorothy never took her shoes off. The witch was afraid of the dark, so she didn't go into Dorothy's room at night. And she was very scared of water, so she didn't go near Dorothy when she was in the bath. Dorothy cleaned the floors every day. One day, the witch pushed Dorothy. Dorothy fell, and one of her shoes fell off. The witch picked it up and laughed. Dorothy was very angry. She picked up a bucket of water and threw it over the witch.
No!
Screamed the witch.
Don't you know that water can kill me?
No, I didn't know,
cried Dorothy. But it was too late. The Wicked Witch melted into a dark puddle on the floor. Dorothy and her friends were free. Episode 9: The Wizard of Oz.
The Wicked Witch is dead,
said Dorothy.
We must go back to the Emerald City.
Dorothy went to the cupboard to get some food and saw the gold cap. She looked at it and saw that there were words inside it. Dorothy said the words, and suddenly hundreds of winged monkeys flew down and landed in front of her.
We are here to help you,
said the king.
Thank you,
replied Dorothy.
Please take us to the Emerald City.
The winged monkeys picked them up and carried them to the Emerald City. The guard at the gates gave them glasses, and they ran into the city to find the Great Oz. When they walked into the throne room, the throne was empty. Suddenly, a voice shouted,
I am Oz, the great and powerful. Who are you, and what do you want?
We killed the Wicked Witch of the West,
said Dorothy.
Now we want you to help us.
Oh dear,
said the voice.
Well, come back tomorrow.
The lion was very angry, and he roared loudly. A screen in the corner of the room fell over. and they saw a little old man standing behind it.
Who are you?
Asked the Tin Man.
I am Oz, the great and powerful. Please don't hurt me.
You're not a great wizard,
Shouted Dorothy.
No, I'm not.
Said Oz.
I can't do magic, but I can do very good tricks. This whole city is a trick. The glasses you're wearing make everything look green.
But where are you from? How did you get here?
Asked Dorothy.
I came in a balloon.
Said Oz.
The wind carried me here from Omaha.
That's near Kansas.
Said Dorothy.
Yes,
Said Oz.
I wanted you to kill the Wicked Witch of the West because she was powerful and I'm not. I didn't want her to hurt me.
You can't give me a brain,
Said the Scarecrow.
You are learning all the time.
Said Oz.
You don't need a brain.
but I want one,
Said the Scarecrow.
You can't give me a heart,
Said the Tin Man.
Hearts make people unhappy.
Said Oz.
but I want one.
Said the Tin Man.
You can't give me courage.
Said the Lion.
You have plenty of courage.
Said Oz.
True courage is doing things you are afraid to do.
But I still want some more,
Said the Lion.
Come back tomorrow.
Said Oz.
I promise to give you what you want.
Can you help me get back to Kansas?
Asked Dorothy. Oz looked at her and smiled sadly. Episode 10. There's no place like home. The next morning, they all went back to the throne room. Oz took off the Scarecrow's head and pulled out the straw. He took some grain and some pins and needles and mixed them together. Then he filled the Scarecrow's head with the mixture and put it back on.
Thank you,
Said the Scarecrow.
I feel very clever.
Then Oz cut a hole in the Tin Man's chest and put a red silk heart inside.
Thank you.
Said the Tin Man.
Now I can love again.
Finally, Oz poured a green liquid into a bowl and gave it to the Lion.
You must drink this.
Said Oz.
Courage only helps when it's inside you.
The Lion drank the liquid.
Thank you.
He said.
I feel very brave.
But what about me?
Asked Dorothy.
I have a surprise for you.
Said Oz. They walked onto the balcony. In the garden below, there was a huge green balloon with a large basket. Hundreds of people were there too.
We can travel home together.
Said Oz.
It's time for me to leave Oz.
But the city needs a ruler,
Said the Scarecrow.
Yes.
Agreed Oz.
Please look after my city for me, Scarecrow. You are the ruler now.
He climbed into the basket.
Come on, Dorothy.
He said.
It's time to go.
But Toto didn't want to go in the basket. He ran away and Dorothy chased him. The balloon flew up into the air.
Oh no!
Said Dorothy.
How can I get home now?
You have the power to get home.
Said a voice. Dorothy turned round and saw a beautiful woman in a long silver dress.
I am Glinda, the Good Witch of the South. Your silver shoes can take you home.
But I got these shoes on my first day here.
Said Dorothy.
I had the power to go home all the time.
I'm glad you stayed.
Said the Scarecrow.
You helped me get a brain.
I'm glad too,
said the Tin Man with tears in his eyes.
We don't want you to go,
said the Lion.
I love you all,
said Dorothy.
but I must go home.
Knock your shoes together 3 times and say where you want to go,
said Glinda.
The shoes can take you anywhere.
Thank you.
Said Dorothy, kissing her 3 dear friends.
Goodbye.
She held Toto in her arms and knocked her shoes together 3 times.
Take me home,
she said. Dorothy flew through the air, and after a while she landed on the ground. She sat up and looked around. She was back in Kansas. There was a new house where the old one once was.
Dorothy,
cried Aunt Em.
where were you?
in the land of Oz.
Said Dorothy.
Oh, Aunt Em, I'm so glad to be home again.